everyone, and hi y'all. It's Joefer, the Cranky Old Gay Guy. Today, I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm not going to put out a I'm Cranky video. Instead, I am going to show you something I've been working on. I have been playing around with AI, a website or AI model or application called NotebookLM, to be specific. And what you do with that is you can feed or upload text into it, and it will turn it into a two-person podcast that sounds like two people talking with each other. I uploaded my book, 35 Letters from a Mother to Her Son, and got a glowing review from these two podcasters. And that is not up and put up on the site yet, but I'll put that up a little bit later. I did upload a video when I interviewed Rodney Rhoda Taylor about his book, A Life in Letters, and something about sequins. The interview, it was very staccato, you might say, in that we weren't super professional in the interview. So I went ahead and uploaded that episode into NotebookLM, and they don't mention me at all, but instead they review the book, which is odd because it's based on the interview and not the actual book. But they get all the key points, and they make it sound like, you know, the lost manuscript of Shakespeare or something. They give it a good job. And that is the episode that I've been working on today and putting it together. So I'm going to say, go to the podcast section of my channel on YouTube and look for the Deep Dive podcast. There's only going to be one episode in there right now. But check it out. I'm also going to go ahead and just attach it to the end of this little intro I'm doing right now, so you don't have to jump over to the podcast. But it would be better if you did jump over to the podcast, because then you would see what's there. Again, there's only one episode now, but you could follow that. So if I upload further podcasts, which I will, they will feed into that as well. Part of it's in my voice because I do the intro and the disclaimer at the end telling you that these are AI-generated podcast hosts. They aren't real. But they sound pretty good, and I would love to hear your comments on it. I know that there is a new system like that that's just breaking, but it's only for Apple products, and you can actually choose the hosts for your podcast. With the one I'm using, you just get this guy and this girl. I named them Bobby and Michelle just because I thought it fit. But with the new one that's coming online, again, I don't have an Apple computer, so I don't have access to that right now. But you can choose various voices, and I wouldn't say they're... I listened to some samples, and I think the NotebookLM people sound a lot more like people than the ones on this new service. But again, it just, I think, broke yesterday or today, so we'll see how that goes in this exciting world, eh? So I hope you enjoy the podcast that's coming up. Again, it's a podcast, so there's just one picture of the entire thing. There's nothing to watch, so you can listen to it. And I'm going to attach it here. Also, it will be in under the podcast area on my channel. So I hope you enjoy. Everybody, I hope your Thanksgiving was wonderful, and I will see you all, I guess tomorrow. That's Saturday, right? And I'm sure I'll have something to be cranky about. All right? Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Deep Dive with Bobby and Michelle, taking a deeper dive into things like books and videos, giving you a view of what's under the surface. Sit back and take the Deep Dive with Bobby and Michelle.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing something a little different. We're going to be exploring a life story told through letters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're diving deep into A Life in Letters, a story of resilience, sequence, and hope by Rodney Rhoda Taylor.
Okay, so like a sort of epistolary autobiography.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And the author, Rodney Rhoda Taylor, is a fascinating individual. They're a writer, a former drag performer, which explains the sequence in the title.
I was going to ask about that.
And they even balance a full-time job alongside their creative pursuits. Talk about resilience, right?
Absolutely. That's impressive. It's really interesting to see how Taylor's resilience is kind of intertwined with their personal growth.
Yeah.
It's not just about like enduring tough situations, you know, but it's about actively seeking self-discovery and transformation in the midst of all of life's challenges. And you see this reflected throughout the letters, from their early years growing up in Prineville, Oregon, to their eventual move to New Orleans.
Speaking of Prineville, Oregon, it's interesting to think about how that small town environment might have shaped Taylor's journey. Did growing up there contribute to their drive to push against societal norms?
It's certainly possible. I mean, small towns often have, strong unspoken expectations about how people should live their lives, right?
Yeah.
It can be a breeding ground for both conformity and rebellion.
Yeah.
And we see hints of both in Taylor's early letters. There's this sense of them testing boundaries and experimenting with self-expression, even as they grapple with the limitations of their surroundings.
Yeah. There's one early letter that really caught my attention. It's addressed to Virginia Ham. Can you talk about the significance of that name and why Taylor chose to write to this particular figure?
Yeah. Virginia Ham is a clever reference to Harvey Fierstein's iconic drag character in Torch Song Trilogy.
Oh.
I think Taylor's choice speaks volumes about their search for role models and sources of strength, particularly during their coming-of-age journey. And in the letter, Taylor specifically references a powerful quote from the film about respect in relationships. It seems that this message really resonated deeply with them as they were navigating their own identity and seeking validation.
Yeah, it's incredible how art can provide solace and inspiration, especially when we're trying to figure out, who we are and where we fit in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it also highlights how Taylor finds strength and inspiration in unexpected places,
Right.
Even fictional characters.
Right.
They were drawn to Virginia Ham's boldness and their refusal to conform to societal expectations.
It makes you wonder how those early experiences with art and self-expression might have influenced Taylor's decision to become a writer. Was writing their way of finding their own voice, of sharing their unique perspective with the world?
It's certainly a possibility. And it ties into that idea of resilience we discussed earlier. Taylor's writing could be seen as an act of defiance, right? A way of pushing back against the confines of their small-town upbringing and claiming their own narrative.
And speaking of defying expectations, let's talk about the concept of transition, which is a recurring motif throughout the book. You mentioned that it takes on multiple meanings, going beyond just medical transition.
Right, exactly. Transition for Taylor encompasses those internal shifts in perspective and self-understanding. Like we all go through at various points in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's about shedding old beliefs, embracing new possibilities, and constantly evolving as individuals. This concept it's particularly evident in their relationship with their mother, which we see unfold through a series of letters spanning several years.
Their relationship with their mother seems quite complex. It's touched on throughout the book, but we don't get a letter specifically dedicated to her. Why do you think that is?
That's interesting, isn't it? Perhaps Taylor felt that their relationship with their mother was too multifaceted, too nuanced maybe, to be contained within a single letter. Maybe it was a relationship that defied easy categorization or explanation.
Perhaps the act of writing letters throughout their life was their way of processing that relationship.
Oh, interesting.
Of working through the complexities and evolving emotions.
That's a very insightful observation. It reminds us that relationships, especially family relationships, are rarely simple or static, right? They evolve, they shift, they challenge us to grow and adapt.
And we see glimpses of this evolution in the letters Taylor writes throughout their adolescence and young adulthood. There's a clear shift in tone and perspective, suggesting a gradual process of understanding and acceptance.
Right. And it's worth noting that this journey of self-acceptance extends beyond Taylor's relationship with their mother. It's a theme that permeates the entire book, touching on their experiences with body image, religion, and societal expectations.
Now, when it comes to challenging societal expectations, Taylor doesn't hold back. There's one particularly pointed letter addressed to Dear Christians.
Oh, yes. That letter is where Taylor's willingness to challenge convention really shines through. It's a bold critique of hypocrisy and judgment within certain Christian communities.
They certainly don't mince words. They directly call out the hypocrisy they witnessed, drawing a stark contrast between those who preach love and acceptance and those who seem more focused on condemnation and exclusion.
Yeah, it's a powerful statement, especially considering Taylor's upbringing in a small town where religious beliefs likely held significant sway. It speaks to their courage and their commitment to speaking truth to power, even when it might be uncomfortable.
And it's fascinating how Taylor connects their personal experiences with religion to broader societal issues. They point out the irony of Christians selectively choosing which biblical rules to follow, often highlighting outdated or obscure ones while ignoring core teachings about love and compassion.
Yeah, this raises an important question about how we interpret and apply religious teachings in our own lives, doesn't it? Are we truly living by the principles we claim to uphold, or are we cherry-picking to suit our own biases and prejudices? You know, it's a challenge to reflect on our own beliefs and actions to ensure that we're living in alignment with our values.
This tension between personal beliefs and societal expectations is a recurring theme in Taylor's letters. And it's fascinating to see how their experiences shift once they move to New Orleans, a city known for its more accepting and open-minded atmosphere.
Right. That contrast is indeed striking. And it highlights the profound impact our environment can have on our sense of self and on our ability to express ourselves authentically. New Orleans seems to have provided Taylor with a sense of belonging and acceptance they hadn't experienced before.
There's a line in one of their letters where they jokingly referred to New Orleans as a hotbed of sin compared to their previous homes.
It's a humorous observation, but it also speaks to a deeper truth. New Orleans has a reputation for embracing a more laissez-faire attitude towards life, right?
Wow.
Allowing individuals greater freedom to express themselves without judgment.
And this newfound freedom seems to have had a profound impact on Taylor's journey of self-discovery and acceptance.
Absolutely. It underscores the importance of finding communities and environments that support our growth and allow us to be our true selves.
Now, buckle up, because we're about to delve into some deep emotional territory. Taylor's letters to anxiety and depression are some of the most raw and honest pieces of writing I've ever encountered.
You're right. These letters provide a window into the internal battles so many of us face, but often struggle to articulate.
Their use of language is incredibly vivid and powerful, painting a visceral picture of what it feels like to be consumed by these overwhelming emotions.
The way Taylor personifies anxiety and depression is particularly brilliant. It gives these abstract concepts a tangible form, making them easier to grapple with and understand.
They refer to them as unwelcome roommates, which I think is such a relatable way to describe these persistent and often intrusive feelings. In one particularly poignant letter addressed to Dear Depression, Taylor describes feeling trapped in a cycle of darkness, isolation, and self-doubt. They talk about how depression tricked them into staying home, avoiding social interactions, and pushing away friends.
It's a heartbreaking description, but it's also incredibly powerful in its honesty and vulnerability.
And it's important to note that Taylor doesn't shy away from the darkness. They acknowledge the depth of their struggles, the moments when it felt like these unwelcome roommates would never leave.
Yeah. But what's truly inspiring is how Taylor ultimately finds a way to navigate these challenges, to reclaim their power and find moments of joy and contentment.
Their journey of kicking out these unwelcome roommates and learning to live with happiness and contentedness is a testament to the human capacity for resilience and growth, even in the face of profound emotional struggles.
It's a powerful message of hope and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always the potential for healing and transformation. And it's a journey that resonates deeply with me personally. I think so often we strive for this elusive state of perfect happiness.
Right.
But, you know, the reality is that life is full of ups and downs.
Yeah.
Embracing that messiness, the full spectrum of human experience, can be incredibly liberating.
That's so true. Reading Taylor's letters reminded me that it's okay to not be okay all the time.
Right.
In fact, acknowledging those difficult emotions can be the first step towards healing and growth.
Absolutely. And it's not just about acknowledging those emotions, but also understanding where they stem from.
Yeah.
For example, in several of their Dear Anxiety letters, Taylor describes this constant overthinking, this worry about what other people think. It's a pattern many of us fall into, this need for external validation.
It's exhausting, isn't it? Trying to live up to everyone else's expectations.
Yeah.
What's interesting is how Taylor eventually shifts their focus inward. They begin to prioritize their own well-being and let go of that need for constant approval from others.
That's a key aspect of Taylor's resilience. It's not just about bouncing back from adversity,
Yeah.
but also about learning and growing from those experiences. They developed this remarkable ability to reframe their challenges as opportunities for self-discovery and personal transformation.
You know, hearing Taylor talk about anxiety and depression in such an open and honest way made me think about how we often try to hide these parts of ourselves.
Yeah, you've hit on a crucial point. There's still so much stigma surrounding mental health,
Oh, absolutely.
which can make it incredibly difficult to seek help or even admit that we're struggling. Taylor's willingness to be vulnerable in their writing is a powerful act of defiance against that stigma. It creates space for others to share their own experiences without shame or judgment.
It's like they're saying, hey, it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to have these struggles. You're not alone.
Precisely. And that's what makes A Life in Letters so compelling. It's not just a collection of stories. It's an invitation to connect with our own experiences and emotions on a deeper level.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we're all part of this shared human tapestry, woven together by our joys, sorrows, and everything in between.
Speaking of connections, I'm curious to know what stood out to you most from the book. Was there a particular letter or theme that resonated with you personally?
Honestly, every letter resonated with me on some level.
Yeah.
But what struck me most was Taylor's unwavering commitment to authenticity. Throughout these letters, we see them grappling with societal expectations, religious dogma, and their own internal struggles, all while striving to stay true to themselves. It's a powerful testament to the importance of self-discovery and self-acceptance.
It's that relentless pursuit of authenticity, that constant evolution that makes Taylor's story so inspiring. They never stop learning, growing, and challenging themselves.
And that's a message we could all benefit from hearing, wouldn't you say? In a world that often pressures us to conform, Taylor's journey reminds us of the power of embracing our individuality and forging our own paths.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up our discussion of the book itself, I wanted to touch on Taylor's experiences in New Orleans. They mentioned how much more accepting the city felt compared to their small-town upbringing.
Yeah, that contrast is fascinating. It highlights the crucial role environment plays in shaping our experiences and influencing how we express ourselves. New Orleans has this reputation for being a place where people can be themselves without judgment or pretense.
Right.
It seems to have provided Taylor with a sense of belonging they hadn't found elsewhere.
They even jokingly referred to New Orleans as a hotbed of sin compared to their previous homes.
Well, it certainly has a reputation for embracing a more carefree approach to life.
But beyond the party scene, it sounds like New Orleans offered Taylor a sense of community and acceptance that was profoundly transformative.
And that sense of community can be so vital, especially for those who have felt marginalized or misunderstood.
Yeah.
It can provide a sense of validation, a safe space to explore who you are without fear of judgment.
It makes you wonder how our lives might unfold differently if we all had the opportunity to live in environments that truly celebrate our authentic selves.
That's a profound question. Perhaps it's a reminder to seek out those spaces,
Right.
those communities where we can truly thrive, to surround ourselves with people who support our growth and encourage us to be our best, most authentic selves.
Well said. So as we approach the end of our deep dive into A Life in Letters, I think it's clear that Rodney Rhoda Taylor's story is one that lingers in your mind long after you finish reading.
It's a story that compels us to think critically about societal norms, to embrace our own vulnerabilities, and to never stop striving for self-acceptance and growth.
And in a world that often feels increasingly divided and disconnected, it's a powerful reminder of the shared human experience that binds us together.
Beautifully put. Taylor's letters are a testament to the enduring power of vulnerability, resilience, and the search for meaning in our lives.
You know, as we wrap up our deep dive into A Life in Letters, I'm struck by the power of self-expression.
Yeah, it's incredibly moving to witness how Taylor found their voice through writing, using letters as a way to process emotions, challenge conventions, and connect with others.
It's really inspiring that Taylor didn't wait for permission to share their story.
Exactly. They embraced their unique perspective and used their voice to challenge societal norms and inspire others to do the same.
It's like Taylor's giving us all permission to embrace our own unique voices,
Yeah.
to tell our own stories, even if they're messy or complicated.
And that's such a crucial message, especially today.
Right.
In a world saturated with information, it's easy to feel like our individual voices get lost in the noise.
Yeah.
But Taylor's story reminds us that each voice matters, that every story has the potential to connect with others and create meaningful change.
And for those feeling inspired to explore Taylor's work, their book, A Life in Letters, a story of resilience, sequence, and hope, is available at major retailers.
Yeah, if you want to.
Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
Check it out.
I highly recommend it. It's a truly unforgettable journey of self-discovery, resilience, and the courage to embrace one's authentic self.
Now, before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final thought.
Okay.
If you could write a letter to your own experiences, what would it say? What transitions, challenges, or triumphs have shaped who you are today?
That's a powerful question. One that encourages us all to reflect on our own unique journeys and perhaps even find inspiration to share our own stories with the world.
And who knows, maybe those stories will inspire others to do the same, creating a ripple effect of empathy, understanding, and connection.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep sharing your unique voice with the world.
The Deep Dive podcast with Bobby and Michelle was created using NotebookLM, an AI application that is modeled on uploaded materials such as text or video. Bobby and Michelle are not humans. They are simulated podcast hosts. Their ideas, opinions, and advice are not representative of the podcast owner, Joefer, the Cranky Old Gay Guy. Joefer created the theme music using Suno.com Pro Plan and his own voice. Deep Dive image created by MS Copilot. I hope you enjoy this unique take on the subject covered.